So, if you haven't guessed on my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, I really enjoyed the movie. I did a vlog type review of my friends who also really enjoyed it, and you can go check out my review after you finish your video. With that said, it was a perfect send-off to the Guardians. It was visually appealing, and it was the funniest MCU movie I've seen in a while. See, Ant-Man? That's how you end a trilogy. And do you want to know the best part about this movie? It actually didn't set up anything. I mean, technically indicated Star-Lord will return, but besides that, no cameos from our heroes, no setup towards future MCU projects, no multiverse crap, none of it. It was just a standalone movie concluding the Guardians' journey. Even though Star-Lord brought up events of Infinity War and Endgame, it was for comedic effect and a tiny recap on what happened before they arrived here. Guardians of the Galaxy might be the most perfect trilogy in the MCU, as well as the best comic book trilogy since The Dark Knight, and was also very accessible. What do I mean by accessible? Well, if you haven't been keeping up, all the recent MCU movies and shows have been doing nothing but setting up future projects. WandaVision set up Multiverse of Madness, Black Widow set up Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel set up The Marvels, Quantumania set up Season 2 of Loki. You get the idea. Why is it out of all these movies, the Guardians movies were the only ones that didn't set up anything? Honestly, this leaves me with a burning question. When will the MCU become accessible again? So if you don't know what accessibility means, allow me to define it. Accessibility is the quality of being able to be reached or entered and the ability of being easy to obtain or use. For example, if I want to play a game but it's too hard for me to play, I could go into the menu, change some settings, and might activate a cheat or two in order for me to have fun and experience it. When I was a kid and I had recess, I would always climb the stairs instead of climbing on those weird, different shaped ladders. Because I found them to be impossible to climb and I got scared to try and do them, stairs were the safer bet for me. Accessibility can be applied for movies as well. I don't want to watch them prepare for its future sequels. I want to watch them to have fun and get invested. The MCU is doing the opposite of that. Instead of making standalone films nowadays, these movies and shows are getting made just for the sole purpose of setting up big crossover events and connecting them to each other. There are so many franchises that don't do that. Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Godzilla, Evil Dead, Friday the 13th, James Bond, hell, even the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy. Although the first three phases had standalone films such as Iron Man, Avengers, Winter Soldier, and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, they had post-credit scenes that set up future events. However, they still worked as standalone movies. Remember when Marvel did that? Good times. Good times. When it started, you could start whatever movie you wanted. My first MCU movie I watched was The Avengers, and the first MCU movie I watched in theaters was Winter Soldier. Those two were my first MCU movies I ever watched, and I was not lost at all. The first three phases were entirely accessible because they were all setting up Infinity War and Endgame. It didn't matter where you started. So after the cinematic event that was Endgame, what exactly are they setting up?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
All the MCU movies and shows post-Endgame are setting up nothing. They're just so Disney can make more money in the box office. What about King? Yeah, about that. Yes, I see the irony of mocking a nerd, even though I'm a nerd too, but it's a thing nerds do. Let's just move on. From what I've seen in the latest phases, there were only 3 movies that were accessible. No Way Home, Werewolf by Night, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like I said in my GOTG3 review, I only care to see Spider-Man and the Guardians stories continue. I was hoping these 3 would set up more future events because quite frankly, I was getting burned out. Thankfully, these weren't the case. No Way Home and Guardians 3 were both great conclusions of the trilogies, while Werewolf by Night was a perfect standalone horror flick. Now you're thinking, wait, didn't No Way Home set up Multiverse of Madness? It did, but I'm more specifically talking about the extended cut of it. In my opinion, that's the definitive way of watching No Way Home. Not only is it a great crossover, but the perfect conclusion to not only the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, but to all the Spider-Man movies. Tobey Peter reunited with Doc Ock, Andrew Peter made amends with Electro, and Tom Peter made the ultimate sacrifice. The villains were cured, everyone got to go back home and live their lives, and Peter suffered the worst fate. make it everyone forget him, and he would go on to continue being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Werewolf by Night was a fun horror flick. It was short, sweet, and to the point. Dark, mesmerizing, and scary at times. It works well as a standalone movie because it has nothing to do with the MCU, despite it being an MCU movie. No multiverse crap, no setups for future sequels, none. It's just about a werewolf killing everyone, and I love it for that. And finally, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. God, what a breath of fresh air. Like I said earlier, just like Werewolf by Night, it didn't set up any future movies or shows. It just told the final chapter of the Guardians movies, and it ended beautifully. These 3 movies are what I'm wanting more from the MCU again. To be accessible. No setting up stuff, no required to watch other movies in order to understand what's going on. Just be straightforward and tell a story. Just let a movie be a movie. Marvel, take my advice. Leave Spider-Man and Guardians stories where they are. Let Spider-Man continue to protect New York and his identity. Let the new Guardians have their fun, and let Star-Lord be with his grandpa again. And do what Werewolf by Night did. Tell a standalone story without requiring to watch shows and movies in order to understand. Just be a movie. I highly doubt any future projects are going to work as standalone projects because Echo's going to take place where Hawkeye left off and lead to Daredevil Born Again. And Deadpool 3 is barely going to have anything to do with the first 2 Deadpool movies. But you know what? What are you going to do? At least I got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur for the time being. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.